On the line now from New York is our reporter Blanche Gorises, who is covering the United Nations General Assembly sessions. Good evening from Namibia, Blanche.
Good day, Frank.
I'm sure by now the President and his delegation is aware of this investigation on several African countries, which include Namibia's relationship with North Korea. What is the government's standpoint on this issue?
Yes, Fran, you correctly stated that the head of state and his delegation, particularly the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of International Relations, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, being aware. Now, earlier we spoke to her where she revealed that the country or government has invited the UN Sanctions Committee to visit Namibia and assess to what extent the country has complied with the UN resolutions, the one that was recently also adopted this week, to be specific, strengthening sanctions against North Korea. Now, Namibia is obviously under the radar, as you stated, because of the historical relations the two countries have. Starting last year, the government has seized projects with that country, and now saying, look, we are open, come to us and come and assess, as I can quote the International Relations Minister stating that no, to their satisfaction, meaning the UN Sanctions Committee, to its satisfaction, it needs to visit the country and see that within Southern Africa, within African countries that are being investigated or reportedly being investigated by the United Nations, that Namibia is on track.
Now, has there been any response, Blanche, by the Sanctions Committee when Namibia extended this invitation to them?
Well, Namibia extended the invitation just before the president and his delegation arrived here. So the permanent mission is yet to receive a response, but I'm sure the UN Sanctions Committee is seized with the matter, which was also confirmed by the International Relations Minister during the extensive interview.
Now, the US President Donald Trump has threatened to impose trade sanctions against countries doing business with North Korea, and with the ongoing investigations, how is this likely to impact on the relationship between North Korea and Namibia, as you said, which is quite historical?
Well, friend, those were one of the questions that we posed to Nandi-Ndaitwah, where she said that, yes, Namibia is on a path to strengthen its ties or trade relations with the U.S. outside the AGOA Pact. As you know, recently we got cleared, Namibia got cleared to import beef, to export beef here and all the other products that one can think of. But what is at stake here is that on one side you have historical relations, whereas the minister said it will not be affected, seeing that UN resolutions do not state that countries cut diplomatic ties, but rather economic ties. And as a result, Namibia has cut ties in that already the economic relations between Namibia and North Korea were not that strong, except awarding major contracts such as the Heroes building, construction of the Heroes Acre, Independence Memorial Museum, and now the stalled headquarters for the Defense Ministry to Korean companies, which were, like I said, put on hold when the UN resolutions came into being. The minister also revealed that now that both countries are members of the UN or of the United Nations, she was sent to Pyongyang, the capital, to assure that the historical relations will remain, but compliance will have to come into effect.
And finally, Blanche, the President will be meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the sidelines of the Assembly. Do you expect discussions with the UN General Assembly or UN Secretary General on discussions on North Korea, to feature prominently during these talks?
Friend, on various platforms, President Geingob has stressed Namibia's foreign policy, that of being a friend to all and enemy to none. That is probably one of the reasons why the country is under the radar. But he is expected to share Namibian government stance with regard to its relations. Reports here is that the country has been resisting calls to cut ties with North Korea, but at the same time, these are countries that have been friends for far too long. So obviously, the head of state address, as well as his side meetings with the UN Secretary General, are to address, to put these reports to test to see whether Namibia is on the track and in its compliance with its international obligations. So I cannot preempt for now what the discussions, closed-door discussions, will be with the Secretary General. So that I'm sure that is what will feature strongly.
Blanche Gorizes, thank you so much. And that was our reporter in New York, telling us more about the UN Security Council, which has launched an investigation into several African countries when it comes to North Korea, Namibia being one of them.